Hello, my name is Asya. Nice to meet you and welcome back to my channel if you already know me. So today me and my friend, we have 5 amazing ideas for you how to fill your sketchbook. Um, those ideas, I try to make them not super obvious, like, not paint your favorite, whatever your pet, which I don't mind those ideas, but I think a lot of YouTubers already made videos about those ideas, so I decided to try something a little bit new, and I don't know if it worked out or not. It is for you to decide. Um, I will use gouache for my ideas, but you don't have to use gouache. I use it because it's my favorite medium. But those ideas can be could be performed in any other medium: ink, pencils, acrylic, oil, whatever you prefer. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's it. I have to apologize for not uploading videos recently. I was super busy with my work. I don't know what happened, but I got so many projects recently, so I was just working, and I didn't have time to film videos, but I did it, and I really missed you guys. I really missed making videos, and yeah, that's it. That's everything I wanted to say. I hope you will enjoy this video, and let's get started.
My first idea is a screenshot from the game. If you don't play games, you can use a screenshot from the movie or YouTube video, it doesn't matter. I like games with beautiful landscapes and I wanted to paint one a long time ago, so I decided to include this idea in my video. I took a screenshot from the game Assassin's Creed Odyssey. What I like about this screenshot is the contrast of dark environment and light from the torch. I start with the sky because it is the background and it will define the color of the rest of the painting, except for the torch area. I don't paint night landscapes very often, so it is a bit hard for me. I try to keep in mind that all color will be cold, which means I'm going to add blue paint to the color of every object in the scene. I like using square brushes when I paint houses or architecture. They allow me to create nice and straight lines. What I noticed while painting this landscape, it is very important to find a main blue and mix it with your other colors. For example, if my house is brown, I'm going to use the brown I like plus the main blue color. For the grass, I chose dark green plus the main blue color. It really helped me to be consistent with my color palette. So far, I like how my sky is looking. It is not very detailed, just a couple of brush strokes, but it already looks like a sky and it will work as a nice background for my detailed house. By the way, your screenshot doesn't have to be realistic looking. If you like to play simple games or watch cartoons, it will also work. The best part of this idea is looking for a perfect angle. I felt like a professional photographer while doing it. I also know a lot of artists love redrawing screenshots from cartoons. It definitely looks fun, and I think one day I will try it too. Back to the painting. My house is half done and I wanted to dry a little bit before I apply more details. So I decided to paint grass in front of the house. As I mentioned before, I took pre-made green from my gouache palette and added my main blue color to dim the brightness of the green a little bit. When painting with gouache, I try to use layers. The first layer is usually the main color of the object, so I use a big brush to paint it. Next, I take a slightly smaller brush and add shadows and highlighted areas. And for the final layer, I usually take the smallest brush I have and I paint details. The house is dry, so now I can add some light from the torch. I really enjoy the contrast of blue and yellow. For the background, we have night city on the right and big tree on the left. I started painting the city with light brown, but then I realized it is nighttime, so I painted it over with blue, but used this light brown for the windows. It does look like people in those houses lighted candles or torches, and it is also not as bright as yellow I used for the main house because those lights are far away. So this little mistake turned into a happy accident for me. We leave our night city to dry and we move on to the tree on the right. I will paint this tree with one blue color because I don't want to distract viewers' attention from the house. The painting is almost done. As I mentioned before, it is time to apply our final layer. I took super thin brush and started painting little details on the house. I never had a very small brushes. I thought they are not very useful, but this little guy showed me how wrong I was. I use it for almost every painting since I bought it. The house already looks way better with all the tiny elements. Now it is time to paint the grass. I used my tiny brush for the grass, but then realized it will take me forever, so I switched to my favorite fan brush. I highly recommend this brush for people who like to paint landscapes. It is a bit unpredictable, but it allows you to create unique shapes and interesting brush strokes. It takes some practice, of course, but once you master it, you will love it. I'm adding final touches and I'm ready to use pencil magic. I love finishing my gouache paintings with colored pencils. It is fun to play with colored pencils, but be careful and don't overdo it. Too much pencil will just ruin your painting. Pencils don't cover mistakes, so if you want to fix something, just use one more layer of gouache. I mainly used yellow and orange to make the light from the torch even brighter. Some walls were not straight enough, so I used pencil and ruler to fix it. If I did it, if I did that in college, I would have been kicked out immediately. But I know you guys will forgive me this little incident. This is the final result. I like how it looks and I enjoyed the whole process. My second idea is a still life, but not just a regular still life. We will try to make it in Fauvism style. My original idea was to create a pop art style still life, but something went wrong. I used objects I had around me. A couple of candles, empty Jo Malone box I can throw out because it was very expensive, an orange and a plastic flower. I of course recommend you to make your own still life, but if you are lazy, I don't judge you. You can find something online and paint it in different style. So why I chose Fauvism? Well, it is because it is opposite of my own style and I thought it would be nice to try something new. If you use abstract style for your artworks, you can try to make a realistic painting instead. In Fauvism, bright and strong color is the main feature. Knowing this, I will make my objects pretty simple, but I will put a lot of color and I'm not going to use real colors I see. I will try to improvise and choose bright and crazy colors. Recently, my favorite color combination was red and green. I'll try to use both those colors, but of course I will add blue and purple for some nice contrast. Gouache is the best medium for this idea, especially jelly gouache, because it has very bright colors. I use Mia gouache. I always wanted to paint still lifes. I have a lot of cute vases and cups and even flowers, but for some reason it never happened. So this was very nice excuse for me to finally paint my own still life. I think my college ruined still lifes for me. They made us paint so many still lifes with watercolor, so I didn't like still lifes for a long time. I don't like watercolor as well, but not only because of the college, I'm also really bad at painting with watercolor. This painting took a lot of time to finish, not because it was hard to paint, but because I had to apply 3 or 4 layers of paint on every object to make it look very, very bright. The fastest way to dry your painting is to use hair dryer, of course. It helped me a lot while painting my still life. I've noticed it was a bit hard to look at objects and paint them. Usually I use images from the internet and I'm very confident at painting from the photo. This time it was a bit challenging. Luckily I chose super simple objects. I need to practice painting from life a bit more, so maybe for my next video I will take you out on a plein air and we will try to paint some nice landscapes. For the color of my objects, I mostly used very bright versions of their natural colors. Instead of yellow table, I painted red table. Black cups I replaced with purple and the green for the plants I replaced with bright neon green. I wasn't sure about shadows in this painting. I thought shadows will make it too realistic and kill the style, but actually if you use weird colors for the shadows, it looks very nice. So I decided to paint shadows for all objects in the painting. I'm pretty happy with how it looks so far, but I think my illustration needs some nice outlines to help my objects stand out and look even brighter. Dark colors work great for outlines, so I took some nice dark greens and blues, small brushes and added contours to all my objects. This spread looks so crazy. A nice and peaceful landscape on the right and crazy color explosion on the left. It is definitely going to be one of my favorite spreads in this sketchbook. I'm using this ugly piece of paper to protect the page below my painting. No matter how hard I try to make nice and neat painting, I always mess up the page behind my painting. I didn't want to use it for the video, but then I realized there is no way I can be neat with this amount of paint. We're almost done. I want to add some nice details using some pencil magic and my painting will be complete. Not going to lie, I struggled a lot with this piece. I do love bright colors, but I like more natural colors. So I had to remind myself all the time to not paint colors I see. I also almost never use outlines in my artwork. It was hard to make them and make sure they all have the same thickness. Overall, I'm happy with the final result and it was worth all my efforts. But we're not done yet. We have some tiny details to add. For the details, I used very light colors, mostly white, to make my objects shiny, if you know what I mean. And now we are finally done. This is the final result. I hope you like it. I like it a lot.
Hey Jordan,
Yes, my dear.
can you please pick a random book for me?
Okay. I'll go do it.
Thank you.
Alright, I found one.
What is
Anything
it?
else? It is Aesop's Fables.
Oh, that's perfect. Alright, give me the page number.
How about page 23?
23. And the line.
How about 6 from the bottom?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then the crane flapped his large, strong wings and sailed away, leaving the peacock below, not half so pleased with himself as he had been before. Good one, I like it. Thank you.
Yes, you guessed it right. My third idea is to illustrate something from the book. You can illustrate the whole story or one sentence. Ask your friends or family members to give you the page number and you got your idea. Our friend gave us this beautiful book. It is called Aesop's Fables, and it already has illustrations, but I didn't illustrate the fable itself. I decided to paint two main characters from the story. The main characters, as you already know, are a crane and a peacock. I always think about something Japanese related when I think about cranes. So I decided to paint them in the style of old Japanese prints. I started with the peacock because I thought it would be the hardest thing to paint, but I struggled with the crane more. I don't usually paint birds and I don't fully understand how to paint feathers, especially on the wings. But I'm glad I stumbled upon this fable. It will give me a chance to practice and make a nice video for you guys. I always wanted to illustrate children's book, and a few years ago my dream came true. I illustrated a couple of books and boy oh boy, it is a lot of work. The process is pretty exhausting and you have to paint same things every day. Well, almost the same things. It doesn't sound that hard, but after a month of hard work, art block is guaranteed. But it is all worth it in the end. When you hold a book with your name on it, it is the best feeling ever. I wish I could write and illustrate my own book in the future, but I have zero writing skills, so we'll see. I started painting the crane because the peacock needs some time to dry. I wanted to show a contrast between the very bright peacock and the white crane, but they both turned out very detailed. But it didn't ruin the painting at the end, which is nice. I enjoy the combination of aqua and bright green on the peacock's tail. Definitely going to try it in my landscape painting. I think I'm almost done with the main color and it is time to put details and make my birds look like birds. I start with the crane and I use dark brown to paint shadows. The photo I used as a reference has very complicated light and shadows were both blue and brown at the same time. That's why I have some blue spots on my crane. Blue shadows are my thing. They give your painting a nice impressionist vibe, which I really like. After the crane, I decided to paint the most fun and easy part of the painting. It is spots on the peacock's tail. Some people call them eyes, and I can definitely see eyes, but I will call them spots because eyes creep me out a little bit. Since we already know where we're going to put those spots, I take a lot of paint on my brush and quickly put dark blue and orange dots all over its tail. Make sure to use a lot of water to make dots big and bright. Round brushes are perfect for this task. I love doing paintings with a lot of little details. It is so meditative and relaxing, but of course takes a lot of time as well. I enjoyed painting every tiny feather on the peacock. The crane was also fun to paint, but peacock wins. We're almost there. We have the head and legs left and it is time to paint the background. I didn't know what to put on the background. I wanted something very simple like a gradient or one solid color, but then decided gradient would be the best decision. I couldn't decide between purple and yellow, and usually I use Photoshop to see what looks better, but this time I was lazy, so I chose a yellow and orange gradient. I thought my birds will blend with purple background, that's why yellow won, and spoiler alert, I didn't like it at all. But right now I don't know it, so I use my ugly paper to protect other sketchbook pages and I use big square brush and tons of yellow paint to make the background. The background looked a little bit empty to me, so I decided to add mysterious fog there. Little did I know I will change the background later and it will make this process even harder. I didn't record it because I thought it would be boring. Instead, I recorded this nice trick. I stole idea from TikTok, of course. Don't forget about our favorite pencil magic. we're done! Hooray! Idea number 4 is the song. And again, I didn't illustrate the story in the song, I painted the mood. My song is Summertime Sadness by Lana Del Rey. I think she didn't say anything about the beach in the song, but every time I listen to it, I imagine sunset at the beach. For this painting, I wasn't trying to be very neat and detailed. On the contrary, I took all the bright colors and splashed them on the paper. I paint a lot of landscapes, so it wasn't very challenging for me. But this video is not about challenge, it is about looking for inspiration in some unusual places. I love music and listen to a lot of songs, especially when I work. But I never thought about illustrating songs. As you can see, I mostly use fan brush. It is really good for painting clouds and waves. One little turn of this brush can turn your thin brush stroke very wide, which is perfect when it comes to sea waves and clouds. I put so much water on my paper, it started going crazy. That's why I have to hold it with my hand. But I have to admit, it is the best paper I've ever used for gouache. If you're interested, this sketchbook is from Pentalic and the paper is 330 GSM. Very nice for working with wet mediums, but not as good for liners and pencils. But I don't mind it, 90% of the time I work with gouache. I'm using the same purple for the clouds as I used for the background of my previous painting. And these two paintings look really good next to each other. I try not to think about spreads too much and paint what I feel like painting, but beautiful spreads give me so much joy, so I think sometimes I try to make my paintings match each other without realizing it. Look at how beautiful pink and yellow look next to each other. I think out of all my sketchbook ideas, this is going to be my favorite. I also wanted to take white or black paint and spell Summertime Sadness in the middle of the painting, but my handwriting is so bad, so I decided to not risk it. But if your handwriting is good, you can try it. And don't forget to post it on the Pinterest. People like this kind of stuff there. Well, I definitely do. The painting is almost done. I want to paint bright purple line to show where the horizon is and maybe some contrast to the clouds. And the final touch is seafoam with white paint. I love the feeling of finishing the painting, especially when I like how it turns out. It is the best part of the painting process for me, and I'm sure every artist experienced it. This is my finished painting. Idea number 5 and our final idea is pattern. I came up with this idea while looking for a summer dress. I realized that I like a lot of patterns, but I can't find the perfect one. If I like the color, I don't like the print, or sometimes I love print but the color is a bit too bright or not my color. So I decided to make my perfect pattern. I didn't know how hard it is to create patterns, especially for the person like me who never did it before. I separated the page into two different pieces. Purple piece is going to be a pattern for a shirt and red one is going to be a pattern for pants. I always wanted to have purple shirt with little flowers on it, so that's what we're going to paint here. I took dark green paint and painted little stems and leaves on them. For the flowers, I chose daisies because they're easy to paint and I love daisies. I painted orange centers for my daisies and I decided to add orange flowers in empty spaces to give my pattern more orange color. I think it matches purple background nicely. For the pants, I chose avocados. If you think it is too crazy for pants, I agree with you, but I love crazy pants, so it works just fine for me. Green paint doesn't cover a red background with one layer, so we will need 2 or 3 layers of paint. In empty spaces between the avocados, I will add sparkles and dots for fabulousness. I go back to avocados again and apply more green paint. It looks much better this time. After I'm done with avocados, I create brown outlines with the thin brush. It was hard and I can't believe I didn't mess up this step. The next step is seeds, of course. I use the same brown as I used for the outlines. For my final step, I'm going to use white paint and add a nice shine to my avocados and seeds. I also used it on the dots to make them brighter. Our patterns are done, satisfying tape peeling because we all love it. And don't forget to sign your patterns. When you will show your sketchbook to somebody in the future, it will be easier to brag. Like, yeah, I was working on some patterns recently. And here's the final result.
Hey, we did it! 5 amazing ideas in the sketchbook. I hope you like them, or maybe one of them or two of them. That would be very nice. My favorite, I think, was this one. I had so much fun experimenting with colors. Usually I like more traditional painting and traditional colors, like more realistic colors, but it was so much fun to paint, and maybe in the future I might change my style, who knows. um, yeah, creating patterns was kind of fun, but I don't know if I will ever use this skill in my life, but hey, I have the skill now, right? So anyways, it was so much fun. I enjoyed making this video for you guys. I hope you liked it, and I hope I will see you next week. Bye.